Welcome to Creed. God always wants us to have a good relationship with Him. And in everything that we do, He needs us to be obedient in every word that He states unto us. But sometimes we are comfortably seated in our comfort zone. And when God asks us to do something, we tend to ignore what He is asking of us. Sometimes we do it because we think the task given to us is much heavier than we can handle, and we think that we are unworthy of the position that we are given. But God always knows what He is doing. He is never wrong, and when He chooses you with a purpose, and He always has a good plan for you. You may want to do things differently, but if God asks you to do otherwise, do not question. Because if you go against His will, things will not be okay with you, and it may lead to suffering for you and the people who are around you, just because you did not heed to what the Lord has commanded you to do. Kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to hit the notification button and leave a comment. Our reading for today will come from the book of Jonah 1, and we're going to read the whole of chapter 1. And the Bible says, "The word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me." But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God, and they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. The captain went to him and said, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe He will take notice of us so that we will not perish." Then the sailors said to each other, "Come, let us cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity." They cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. So they asked him, "Tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?" He answered, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." This terrified them, and they asked, "What have you done?" They knew he was running away from the Lord, because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they asked him, "What should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us?" "Pick me up and throw me into the sea," he replied, "and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Instead, the men did their best to row back to land, but they could not, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, "Please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, Lord, have done as you pleased." Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. The Bible tells us about how the word of the Lord came to Jonah, and he was to go to the city of Nineveh and preach against it because its wickedness had come up before the Lord. But Jonah did not want to go to Nineveh. Instead, he opted to go to Tarshish. And he was running away from a responsibility that he was being given by God. In our lives, we are also given responsibilities by God that we should take care for His kingdom to grow. But in most cases, we tend to flee from these responsibilities. And when things are not happening for us, we tend to wonder what is going on because we are doing everything right. And the thing that we get to learn is that when we are being disobedient to God, even the people who are around us will not have an easy time just because of our disobedience. The Bible says the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. While this was going on, Jonah had gone below deck and he was in a deep sleep. Sometimes we get comfortable for not doing what we are being asked by God. And by doing so, we leave others suffering. The captain of the ship was so much surprised that he could sleep under such a situation. And he went to wake him up and to ask him to pray to his God. But that did not change anything, so they decided to cast lots to find out who was responsible for the situation that they were in. And the Bible tells us that the lot fell on Jonah. So they asked him what he had done to put them in such a situation. And funny enough, or weird enough, despite knowing the kind of God that he was serving, he was ready to refuse his command. The people knew that he was running from the Lord, and so they asked him what they were to do in order for the situation to be calm. And he told them, "Pick me up and throw me into the sea." This situation really shocked them, and at first they did not want to do it because they felt that they would be doing a wrong thing. They tried to row back to land, but it was impossible. And seeing that they had no option, they took Jonah and threw him into the sea. And the Bible tells us the raging sea grew calm, and the Lord provided a big fish to swallow Jonah and to take him to where he was supposed to go, which was in Nineveh. I pray that God instill obedience in us so that we may be able to obey Him in every situation. Sometimes He might be taking us away from our comfort zone, but it's all for the best of His kingdom, and we should always learn to trust and obey. Kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to hit the notification button and leave a comment.